Alina Marwood and Ara Vashisht looked like the perfect couple to millions online. But behind their polished photos and glamorous lifestyle hid a twisted secret that would shake the world. When Alina finally gathered the courage to expose the dangerous fetish scheme that Ara forced her into, she believed the truth would set her free. Instead, her final moments were broadcast live as ROF's rage erupted on camera, turning a public confession into a horrifying tragedy. What unfolded was not just the collapse of a marriage, but the unraveling of a carefully constructed illusion that revealed the darkest side of obsession, control, and deceit. Alina Marwood built her online world with soft lighting, pastel colors, and a smile that never seemed to fade. To her millions of followers, she represented comfort, elegance, and emotional warmth. Every post she shared created the illusion of a life filled with endless happiness. She understood the rhythm of social media better than anyone, shaping her content into stories her audience wanted to believe. Her brand grew fast, and soon she became one of the most recognizable influencers in her niche. Ara Vashisht. Her husband appeared in many of those posts, standing beside her with charm and effortless confidence. He was repeatedly labeled the perfect partner, someone who supported her career and added stability to her life. Every shared picture of them together gained thousands of likes, creating a digital portrait of a couple who had achieved everything. Alina's followers admired them, calling them the internet's dream couple. Unaware that the image they saw was designed more for survival than for love, in the early days of their relationship, Alina believed Arav truly admired her drive and independence. He encouraged her when she doubted herself and helped her film videos whenever she felt overwhelmed. Over time, however, subtle changes appeared, but they were quiet enough that Alina ignored them. Arav began taking credit for ideas that weren't his, insisting that he played a bigger role in her success. He started directing her outfits, her captions, and even which brand deals she should reject. Alina convinced herself it was harmless guidance from someone who wanted the best for her. Behind the scenes, she worked long hours editing content, responding to messages, and planning her next moves. Arav, meanwhile, spent his days drifting between casual hobbies without clear goals. He loved the attention her platform brought him and used it to boost his own confidence. The more Alina grew, the more he saw himself reflected in her spotlight. He became addicted to the admiration that poured in from strangers, believing he deserved more recognition than he received. Alina's manager, Milo Grant, noticed changes long before anyone else. He watched as Alina canceled important meetings with vague excuses or brought Arav into discussions where he didn't belong. She seemed more tired, more distracted, and less willing to share details about her personal life. Her cheerful tone softened, and her once sparkling energy dimmed behind a practiced presentation. Milo worried, but Alina brushed off his concerns with polite reassurances that everything was fine. Their home turned into a silent battlefield, filled with unspoken tension. Alina carefully staged photos of breakfast trays and tidy rooms, even though most mornings started with exhaustion and anxiety. She tried to maintain the illusion because her entire career depended on appearing stable, likable, and unproblematic. Arav encouraged the performance because it kept their reputation safe, and he loved how people envied their lifestyle. He clung to the attention because it gave him value he didn't feel in his personal life. Ria Talwar, Arav's cousin, visited occasionally and sensed something was wrong. Although she never saw the full picture, she noticed Alina's hesitance, the stiff body language, and the forced calm in her voice whenever Arav walked into the room. The couple rarely argued in front of her, but the tension was thick enough that even silence felt heavy. Ria left each visit uneasy, unsure how to interpret the atmosphere but aware that the online fantasy looked nothing like the real home. As months passed, Alina's smiles in her videos felt more like a mask than an expression. She began to lose joy in the work she once loved. Her creativity faded, replaced by the constant need to maintain peace at home and avoid triggering ROV's insecurities. She moved through her life carefully, choosing each action in a way that she hoped would prevent conflict. Still, to the outside world, nothing seemed out of place. Alina continued posting beautiful photos with affectionate captions, and her followers praised her relationship as a model of modern love. Each like, comment, and share reinforced the illusion. No one imagined that behind every bright post was a growing darkness, one that would soon unravel everything she had fought to build, months before their public life began to crumble. Arav introduced Alina to a hidden corner of the online world that she had never imagined herself entering. It started as a suggestion he presented as harmless, something that could bring in quick money while they handled overdue bills and rising living costs. He framed it as a temporary solution, something they could quietly step away from once they regained stability. Alina was hesitant, but felt pressured by their financial situation and by ROF's insistence that it was their best option. The scheme involved creating private fetish-based content for wealthy clients who preferred anonymity. The requests were strange and specific, often centered on niche fantasies that none of their public followers would ever suspect. The videos were filmed in a locked room inside their apartment that Arav transformed into a hidden studio. He handled communication with clients, payments, and instructions, assuring Alina that everything was under control. At first, the money seemed like a relief, and Alina convinced herself that it was only for a short time. What began as a reluctant compromise soon turned into a routine that enveloped their home. Arav became increasingly invested in the secret business, fascinated by the fast income it brought. He watched the payments increase and started demanding that Alina participate more often. She felt uncomfortable, not just because of the content, but because of how different Arav became whenever they discussed it. His voice sharpened, his expectations increased, and his understanding of boundaries shifted in ways that frightened her. The locked room became a symbol of fear. Each time Alina stepped into it, she felt as if she were giving away a part of herself. She wanted to end the videos entirely, but Arav argued that stopping would ruin everything they had built. He reminded her of their bills, their lifestyle, and the sacrifices he claimed to make for her career. His manipulations slowly tightened around her until she felt she no longer had a choice. The money continued to flow in. But instead of easing their stress, it created new problems. Arav insisted on managing every payment, explaining that financial matters were too heavy for her already busy schedule. He opened new accounts and shifted funds without her knowledge. Alina began to notice small disappearances of money that didn't match what they were earning. Whenever she tried to question him, he redirected the conversation or accused her of being ungrateful for his efforts. Ria Tal were visited. During this period, and since the atmosphere had changed even more, she noticed the closed door that Alina never opened, the strong equipment lights peeking from under the frame, and the way Arav quickly changed the subject whenever she asked about their finances. Alina seemed quieter, drained, and unable to meet Ria's eyes for more than a moment. Although Ria didn't know the truth, she felt that something secretive and damaging was happening behind that door. As the months went on, the emotional impact of the scheme weighed heavily on Alina. She felt trapped in a cycle she didn't want to be part of, and the pressure from Arav made her feel even more suffocated. Her dreams of making authentic content faded as she spent more time fulfilling requests that made her uncomfortable. Every time Arav talked about expanding their client base or increasing the price, she felt a wave of dread. She wanted to regain control of her life, but the more she pulled away, the more Arav pushed. The financial dependency he created became another tool he used against her. She realized that he was no longer motivated by survival, but by the thrill of control and the status he felt from earning money in ways that were hidden from the world. His behavior shifted from persuasive to demanding, and the tone he used when discussing their secret work made her heart race in fear. Alina could feel the walls closing in around her, both metaphorically and literally. The secret business had become a trap that she no longer knew how to escape. She dreaded the nights when Arav announced they had another request to film. She dreaded the moments when she felt her identity slipping away piece by piece. The secret that began as a financial solution had grown into a dark force consuming their relationship, their home, and her sense of safety. She began to understand that the danger wasn't just the scheme itself, but the man who insisted on keeping it alive. Alina reached a point where the weight of the secret business felt unbearable. The pressure had seeped into every part of her life, leaving her emotionally drained and constantly on edge. She would wake up feeling as if she had barely slept, her mind racing with thoughts about how she could escape the situation without causing more harm. The tension in the apartment followed her everywhere, clinging to her like a heavy shadow. She no longer recognized the life she was living or the person she was becoming. One morning, while scrolling through her old photos, Alina realized how different she looked. Her eyes used to shine with excitement, but now they appeared dull and unfocused. The joy she once felt in creating genuine content had faded into routine motions done only to keep up appearances. She felt as if she was living two separate lives, one that her followers adored, and another hidden behind closed doors that drained the life out of her. The difference between the two became harder to balance, determined to regain some control. She met with Milo Grant for a business check-in. Milo noticed the exhaustion she tried to hide. He could tell she was struggling but didn't want to push her too hard. Alina mentioned wanting to take a short break from filming, saying she needed time for personal matters. Milo sensed a deeper issue behind her words, but she avoided details. He respected her privacy, unaware of how much danger she was actually in. That same night, Lena told herself she would end the secret scheme for good. She drafted a plan in her mind, one that involved slowly distancing herself from the clients and refusing new requests. Her heart pounded every time she imagined confronting Arov about it. But she knew it was her only chance to regain control over her life. She wanted to protect her mental health, her career, the piece of dignity she still held onto. Arov discovered her intentions sooner than she expected. His behavior changed instantly. His calm mask dissolved into anger that brewed beneath every word he spoke. The idea of losing the income terrified him. The money fed his ego, gave him a rush of pride, and made him feel superior. Losing it meant losing the sense of power he had carved out for himself. The thought alone pushed him into a state of panic. Alina noticed him watching her more closely. He would hover near her when she used her phone, pretending he was just passing by. She caught him checking her devices when he thought she wasn't looking. He started policing small details, asking about her messages, questioning why she reorganized her schedule, and tracking her daily activities. His behavior became suffocating, leaving her afraid to make even small decisions without considering how he might react. She began documenting the changes secretly. She wrote short notes and hid them behind books or inside the pockets of jackets she rarely wore. She took pictures of broken objects, damaged walls, and unfamiliar numbers linked to payments she never approved. She saved text, conversations, and screenshots in a hidden folder on her phone. She didn't have a specific plan for the evidence, but she felt safer knowing she had something that could speak for her if she ever needed help. The strain between them grew until the atmosphere in the apartment felt like a storm waiting to break. Alina avoided the locked room as much as possible. Just walking past it made her stomach twist. Arov, however, became obsessed with maintaining their routine. He insisted on filming new content, even when she looked physically unwell. His obsession blurred into desperation, and Alina realized he no longer cared about her well-being. He cared only about the control the scheme gave him. The final push came when she found a bank notification showing money missing from their shared account. It was a large amount, withdrawn without her approval. She dug deeper and discovered he had used her card to pay off an old gambling debt she never knew existed. The betrayal cut deeper than anything he had done before. It confirmed what she feared most. Arov would take anything from her as long as it benefited him. For the first time, she felt a clear sense of danger. She understood that staying silent would not protect her anymore. The situation had crossed a line and she could feel her safety slipping through her fingers. She realized she needed to take drastic steps to protect herself. What she didn't know was how unpredictable Arov had become once he felt her slipping out of his grip. She believed exposing the truth might be her only way out. Unaware that the decision to reveal everything would eventually push Arov to the edge and seal her fate. The day of the live stream started like any other, but inside Alina something felt different. She woke with a heaviness in her chest that refused to fade, yet beneath it was a faint spark of determination she hadn't felt in months. She knew she couldn't continue living in fear. and she believed that speaking publicly might finally break the hold Arav had over her. She wasn't certain of the outcome. She felt a quiet courage pushing her forward. She spent the morning preparing herself. Not for content creation, but for something far more personal. She looked around the apartment, noticing how the walls felt tighter than they once did. Every corner held memories of stress, secrecy, and pressure. She moved slowly, choosing her outfit with care, not for aesthetics, but for comfort. Her hands trembled as she applied light makeup, trying to steady her breathing. She wanted to look composed even though her heart hammered with unease. As she set up her phone near the window for good lighting, she felt a wave of doubt. She wondered whether she was making the right decision, whether exposing the truth would bring freedom or more danger. But she reminded herself of everything she had endured: the pressure, the manipulation, the financial betrayal, the loss of her own identity. She realized that staying silent had become more harmful than any risk she might face by speaking out. The moment the live stream started, familiar hearts floated across the screen as viewers joined. The cheerful messages appeared quickly, expecting her usual updates. Alina felt a lump form in her throat as she tried to steady herself. Thousands of people watched her, unaware of the battle happening behind her calm expression. She felt the pressure of the lens, but also the support of the audience that had followed her for years. Their presence gave her the final push she needed. As she began sharing parts of her life, her voice wavered. Her followers noticed something was different. She wasn't promoting anything or sharing her usual lifestyle tips. She spoke slowly, choosing each word carefully, revealing pieces of the hidden world she had been trapped in. She explained the financial stress they faced, the secret scheme she was forced into, and the emotional manipulation that shaped her daily life. She didn't name Arav directly at first, but it became clear who was behind the pressure. The comment section exploded with confusion, concern, and shock. People typed as fast as they could, trying to understand what they were hearing. Alina continued, feeling her chest tighten with every word. She revealed how the videos were filmed in the locked room, how the money was controlled without her knowledge, and how she felt trapped in a life that wasn't truly hers. Her hands shook as she held her phone, but she pushed through the fear. Believing that transparency would bring safety, Arav was in another room when he heard her voice through the thin walls. At first, he assumed she was doing her usual influencer work, but certain phrases caught his attention. He froze mid-step, listening harder, trying to process what he was hearing. The realization hit him like a physical blow. She was exposing everything he had worked to keep hidden. He rushed toward the room, each step fueled by panic and anger. Alina didn't notice him immediately. She was too focused on the screen, reading the flood of messages, trying to maintain her composure as tears collected at the corners of her eyes. But then, a shift in the background caught the viewer's attention. A shadow moved quickly behind her. Before Alina could react, Arav stormed into the frame. The viewers reacted instantly in the comments, confusion turning into alarm. Her phone slipped slightly as Arav snatched at nearby objects. The livestream captured the chaotic movement, the aggressive gestures, and the tension that filled the air. People were witnessing a tragic moment unfold in real time, powerless to intervene. Alina tried to step back, but Arav's rage overtook any sense of restraint. In the blur of movement, he grabbed a heavy object from the tabula decorative glass piece that had once been part of their staged home photos. The livestream caught the moment his hand raised, the object glinting briefly in the light before swinging toward her. The phone tilted as Alina fell, the screen showing nothing but frantic movement and muffled sounds. The comment section filled with frantic messages, shocked reactions, and desperate pleas for someone to help. The live stream suddenly cut off, leaving thousands of viewers frozen in disbelief. Unsure of what had happened, but aware that something irreversible had occurred. The silence that followed was heavier than anything Alina had ever endured. The truth she had revealed was her final act of courage. But it came at the highest cost, one she never imagined she would pay in front of the entire world. Detective Jonah Crest received the first call about the incident only minutes after the live stream abruptly ended. Viewers from different countries flooded emergency lines, reporting what they had witnessed. Most of them could barely form clear sentences, shaken by the sudden violence they had seen. Jonah, known for his calm under pressure, immediately recognized this case would be unlike any he had handled. The digital world had given him dozens of witnesses, yet none could physically intervene by the time officers reached Alina and Arov's apartment. The building was surrounded by shocked neighbors who had heard the commotion. The front door was slightly ajar, left that way by Arov as he fled the scene. Inside, the apartment looked nothing like the carefully curated home Alina showed online. The air felt thick, as if the walls themselves had absorbed the chaos. Jonah moved through the space carefully, taking in every overturned object, every shattered piece of glass. And the phone lying near the corner where the live stream had ended, Alina was found on the floor of her filming room, surrounded by scattered equipment. The soft lighting setup that once created warm, welcoming videos now illuminated a tragic scene. Jonah observed the surroundings with a heavy heart, noting how the room contrasted sharply with the polished life Alina had portrayed. It was clear she had fought quietly for far longer than anyone had realized. After securing the scene, Jonah began gathering digital evidence. The live stream had automatically saved to several viewers' devices before it cut off, giving investigators multiple angles of analysis. Jonah spent hours reviewing the footage frame by frame. Each second provided more insight into Elena's fear, her desperation to speak the truth, and the escalating rage that led to her final moments. The comments on the live stream, overflowing with panic and confusion, were collected as additional evidence. Meanwhile, officers were dispatched across the city to track Arov. His first attempt had been to escape through familiar areas, but his panic left a trail easy for police to follow. Surveillance cameras captured him running across streets, abandoning belongings, and changing directions repeatedly. He reached the outskirts of the city before exhaustion forced him to hide in an old warehouse once used for storage. The dim lighting and dusty corners offered temporary cover, but the silence around him only intensified his fear. Jonah and his team arrived at the warehouse shortly after confirming the location. The moment Arov realized there was no exit, he surrendered without resistance. His face showed a mixture of anger, exhaustion, and disbelief. The reality of his actions had begun sinking in, though not with remorse, rather with fear of the consequences. Officers took him into custody, marking the end of a desperate attempt to escape responsibility. Back at the station, investigators pieced together the full story. Ria Talwar came forward with everything she knew. She shared her observations of the tension between Elena and Arov, the financial strain, and the mysterious locked room that had always made her uneasy. Her statements helped uncover the hidden world of the fetish scheme and the control V had exercised over Elena. Through secrecy and manipulation, evidence from Elena's devices provided even deeper insight. Jonah found folders filled with screenshots, notes, and financial records she had kept hidden. She had documented each stage of the manipulation, each shift in behavior, and each alarming action that pushed her further into fear. Her careful recordings painted a heartbreaking picture of a woman, trying to protect herself in the only ways she knew. As the investigation unfolded, the public reacted with overwhelming shock. The livestream footage, though horrifying, became a crucial piece of evidence that allowed the world to understand the truth. Many viewers felt consumed by guilt, wishing they could have saved her. Her online community mourned collectively, turning her page into a memorial of supportive messages, tributes, and prayers. The court proceedings were long and emotionally charged. Jonah presented the evidence methodically, ensuring the full truth was laid bare. Arov's attempts to minimize his actions crumbled under the weight of the documentation Elena had left behind. Her courage, even in her final moments, became the strongest testimony against him. Arov was sentenced to life in prison, acted the maximum penalty for the brutality of his actions. The courtroom remained silent as the verdict was read, a somber acknowledgement of the tragedy that could have been prevented. If the warning signs had been recognized earlier, Elena's story echoed across social media, news outlets, and awareness campaigns. Her final live stream became a symbol of silent suffering breaking into the open. People who followed her for years were forced to confront the truth that even the brightest online images could hide the darkest realities. Her legacy became more than her online presence. It transformed into a warning about manipulation, control, and the unseen battles many face behind curated screens. Her courage to speak out, even in fear, changed countless lives and encouraged others to seek help before it was too late. Her story remained a heartbreaking reminder that truth, once revealed, can shake the world and sometimes expose dangers no one ever imagined.